Why do some people move through life differently? They lose a job and somehow land somewhere better. They fail publicly and somehow come back stronger. They start with nothing, and within a decade, they're unrecognizable. Meanwhile, others stay frozen. Same job, same complaints, same year, repeated 20 times in a row. We tell ourselves it's luck. We tell ourselves it's connections. We tell ourselves they were simply born smarter, or born into the right family, at the right time, in the right place. But look closely, and that story falls apart. Because for every wealthy person who inherited an advantage, there are dozens who built everything from nothing. And for every genius, success story, there's a room full of equally intelligent people who never went anywhere. So if it isn't luck, and it isn't raw intelligence, and it isn't always connections, what is it? The answer is uncomfortable, because it means we can't blame the outside world anymore. The difference is psychological. It's not about what successful people have. It's about how they think, and more specifically, 3 behaviors that show up again and again, across industries, across generations, across completely different personalities. Let's break them down. They act before they feel ready. Here's something almost nobody tells you. Confidence doesn't come before action. It comes after. Most people have this backwards. They wait to feel ready. They wait for the fear to go away. They wait for some internal green light that says, now is the time. That light never comes. Confidence isn't a gift you receive before you start. It's a byproduct, something built through repetition, through doing the thing badly first, then less badly, then competently. You cannot think your way into confidence. You can only act your way into it. Think about Steve Jobs in 1976, sitting in a garage with a half-finished circuit board and almost no money. He didn't have proof that personal computers would matter. He didn't have the credentials people expect from a tech visionary. What he had was a willingness to move while everything was still uncertain, to make decisions with incomplete information, again and again, for years, long before the rest of the world understood what he was building. So, why don't most people do this? Because of something quieter and more dangerous than fear of failure. Fear of embarrassment. Failure, by itself, doesn't actually hurt that much. What hurts is being seen failing. The mind doesn't just simulate the loss, it simulates the audience, the raised eyebrows, the whispered comments, the imagined headline that reads, "They tried and it didn't work." So people wait. They call it preparation. They call it doing more research. But often, it's avoidance wearing a more respectable disguise. And here's the part that should unsettle you. The world doesn't reward the most prepared person. It rewards the person who showed up and started, however imperfectly, while everyone else was still preparing. The world rewards movement, not intention. You can have the best idea in the room and go nowhere, because intention without action is invisible. Nobody can reward a plan they never see executed. This doesn't mean recklessness. It means recognizing that the perfect moment, the one where you feel fully ready, fully equipped, fully safe, is a myth your mind constructed to protect you from risk. And protection, taken too far, becomes a cage. They never stop learning. Here's a strange pattern. Once you start looking for it, many of the wealthiest, most capable people in the world still behave like beginners. Not in skill, in appetite. Most people finish their formal education and quietly close the book. Not literally, but psychologically. They've decided they know enough now. The learning phase of life is over. The performing phase has begun. But the people who keep accelerating never make that decision. For them, learning never ends. It simply changes form. Warren Buffett is famous for something that sounds almost mundane, He spends most of his day reading, not browsing, not scrolling. Reading, slowly, deliberately, for hours, decade after decade. By his own estimate, something like 80% of his waking time has been spent absorbing information most people would consider boring. Why does this matter? Because knowledge compounds the same way money does. A small advantage in understanding, repeated daily, doesn't stay small, it multiplies. The person who reads one useful idea a day will, in 10 years, have absorbed thousands of insights that the person who didn't read will never have access to. And here's the trap most people fall into without realizing it. There's a difference between consuming and learning. Scrolling for 2 hours feels like input. It feels like your brain is being fed. But entertainment and education trigger different long-term outcomes. Even when they feel identical in the moment, one leaves you the same person you were yesterday, just more tired. The other leaves you slightly sharper, slightly more dangerous, slightly more equipped to see what others miss. Better information leads to better decisions. Better decisions, repeated for years, lead to outcomes that look, from the outside, like luck. But it isn't luck. It's accumulated advantage, invisible until it isn't. This is also why opportunity seems to follow certain people around. It's not mystical, it's mechanical. The more valuable you become, the more opportunities you attract. Because people are constantly, often unconsciously, scanning for competence. They can sense who has done the work and who hasn't, even if they can't articulate why. So the gap between people who never stop learning and people who stopped years ago isn't visible at first. It's invisible for a long time. And then, suddenly, it isn't. They focus on solutions, not excuses. Let's be honest about something most success content avoids saying directly. Life is unfair. Some people are born into money, some are born into chaos, some get the right mentor at the right time. Some get betrayed by someone they trusted. The starting line is not the same for everyone, and pretending otherwise insults the people who've had it harder. But here's what separates the people who escalate from the people who stay stuck. They accept the unfairness and refuse to let it become an identity. Most people, when something goes wrong, ask a question that feels natural but is quietly poisonous. Why is this happening to me? It feels like processing. It feels like reflection. But it usually isn't. It's a loop. A loop that generates emotion without generating direction. Successful people tend to ask a different question, almost immediately. What can I do about this? That single shift, from why me to what now, changes everything downstream. It moves the mind from a passive, victimized state into an active, strategic one. It doesn't erase the pain of the setback. It just refuses to let the pain be the final destination. Think about how many people you know who got rejected once by a job, an investor, a partner, and quietly let that rejection define the next 5 years of their behavior. How many others got rejected 10 times in a row and treated each one as information, not identity? Same event, completely different psychological response, completely different trajectory. This is what real accountability looks like. Not blaming yourself for everything, but refusing to outsource your next move to whoever or whatever wronged you. Because the moment you decide someone else is responsible for your progress, you've handed them control over your future. Complaining may feel good in the moment. It releases something. It earns sympathy. But sympathy has never built anything. It never solves problems. It just makes the problem more comfortable to sit inside of. So here are the 3 behaviors, side by side. Act before you feel ready. Because confidence is earned in motion, not granted in advance. Never stop learning, because knowledge compounds quietly until it becomes impossible to ignore. Focus on solutions, not excuses, because the question you ask after a setback determines whether it becomes a wound or a lesson. Here's the uncomfortable truth though. None of this is secret. You already knew all three of these ideas before this video started. Everyone does. They're not hidden in some forbidden book of strategy. The real divide isn't knowledge, it's execution. Human nature pulls hard in the opposite direction. We're wired to seek comfort. We're wired to crave certainty before we commit to anything. We're wired to want the reward now, not in 5 years. The wealthy and successful are not immune to any of this. They feel the same pull toward comfort, the same craving for certainty, the same hunger for instant results. The difference is, they act anyway. They move while uncertain. They learn while others assume they already know enough. They search for solutions, while others search for someone to blame. It was never about talent. It was always about behavior, repeated, quietly, when no one was watching, until the results became impossible to explain any other way.